All right, good morning. Here we go. I am going to show you how to make a dice or a random block chooser or a random number chooser so that you can design your own probability game that is a little bit unfair for whoever plays. So first thing we're going to do here is actually I don't really need this cat at all, so I will just delete it and we're going to start out blank. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to create my dice sprite. So to do that, we are going to paint our own sprite. And on the costume, all you're going to do really is you can either draw the number or we're just going to put the number 1. So what you need to know about this, and I'll make it a little bit bigger. And what you can do as well is if you wanted to put a box around it, maybe it would look more like a dice. So I don't really want it filled. I want it transparent. All right, so I put a little box behind it. I made it light, and then I'm going to actually group them so that they are all one thing. Make it nice and small, so that is my dice if I roll a 1. The other option is to just do 1 dot on it like you would normally do, and then we can actually just duplicate that. And now we can change this to make it a 2. Duplicate this, make it a 3. So you can see I've duplicated it, and I now have 6 different sides to this dice. So it could come up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. And you notice that up here, there's the little 1. So that's actually when the computer's going to read it, it reads this is costume 1, costume 2, costume 3. So let's go into the coding and see how we can make this dice randomly be selected. So under events, what we're going to do just to show that it works is when this sprite is clicked, I want something to happen. And so what's going to happen is we are going to, under our looks, is we want to randomly pick a costume. To have it do this, we're actually going to set up a variable, and we're going to call that variable die or dice. We'll call it dice just so it doesn't sound like die, but so it's one die to dice. So this is our die, and here we are going to do, and so what we want to have happen is when the game starts, you're going to set the variable of dice to 0, right? We don't want to have it, but we are going to, now that we have a dice, we want to set dice to, and underneath sensing, I believe, underneath operators, set dice to pick random 1 to 10, but we only want it to pick random 1 to 6. And then under looks, we're going to set costume or switched costume to whatever dice number matches that. So remember how we had inside of our costumes, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, 5, and 6, right? So underneath our code now, what we're saying is you're going to pick a random number 1 through 6, and then that's going to match up with this one. So let's see if it works. So every time I click the sprite, I should be able to roll the dice. Let's see. And I've seen all the numbers, so that's how I make a dice. Let's walk through the process of creating a different independent event. So maybe we want to have like a colored block. So when you reach into the bag or you roll this whatever 5-sided cube, each side will come up with a different color. So let's look at how we can do that. So it's the same kind of process. So we're going to create a new sprite and we're going to paint it. And what it is we're going to create that block. It doesn't need to be big. So one side will be purple. And again, we're going to duplicate it and just change the fill to a different color. Perfect. Purple, pink, blue. It's not quite blue enough for me. Beautiful. So I now have a 5-sided cube where I could randomly get between 1 and 5. I could get, there's numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I could get one of 5 colors when I do this. So let's go back into our coding and see if we can have it randomly pick a color. All right, so there's no code yet, but I'm going to copy and paste my code over from the other one because that just makes life so much easier. But now we're going to just change a few different things. So I still don't mind 70%. I think that's a good size. When this sprite is clicked, picks a number 1 to 6, switch costume to dice. That I don't understand, so I'm going to pause. One thing I'm definitely going to do is just change my variable. I'm going to change it and make a variable called color block because I know there's going to need to be 2 different things that happen. Colored block. And I know that there's only 5 choices, so I'll put a 5 inside of there just to kind of make things clear for me. And then I'm going to set colored block pick random 1 to 5 because there's 5 different colors. And I'm not going to switch my costume to dice, but switch my costume to color block. Now I'm hoping this still works. Pink, and I've seen green, so I know that now when this sprite is clicked, I can get a random, and I can see that it's picking a number between 1 and 5. It's showing me what number it's picking. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I don't need to see that, so I can uncheck that. All right, so a few things I need to do now so that I can actually turn this into a game where there's going to be multiple scores is I've gone into the backdrop and I'm going to code the backdrop just to have a few different things. So when the flag is clicked, I'm going to have my first backdrop that I have to still make that's going to explain the rules of the game. I'll do that now. So remember to make a backdrop, you can paint it. And again, I'm just going to use a nice gradient fill in the background. I think that looks so cool. Maybe customize it. Ooh, that's very fancy. I like it. Great fill. And I'll draw a big box that has that. That's going to be my background. And this is where you're going to have to figure out what the rules of your game are. So you may have made a dice like me, or maybe you have a 10-sided dice or a 12-sided dice. But the only rule is that you have to make your game a little bit unfair for the other player. So I'm going to try and make up some rules for my game. And I'm going to see if I can figure out a way to get score to work. This is also where your challenge is too. So I'm going to pause this video and then I will create a second video for you in case you get stuck. You're like, I really don't know what I should be doing next. But know that you will now come up with the rules of your game here, pop them in here, and have that on the background. And then when you're playing your game, at least you can click on the different things and you know how to do all of that. So that is where we're at so far. And I'll make a second video to see if it helps. All right, bye.